everyone, and welcome to another episode of Small Talk. I'm Amy, this is my partner Maggie.
Hello.
Together we're ThinkerThemer, and as you'll see, we are still not home, but we are in Australia, and as soon as we got back, we were very grateful to get home to Boston.
Yes.
He was very happy to see us.
He was very happy. He does the little happy cry. It's like,
Yeah,
it was very
He was
cute.
so stressed that we were going to leave again.
Yeah. We were
So-
catching up with the friends that were looking after him, and we were having dinner, and they were trying to show us like a little trick of how he sits on a cushion, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't leave our side. It's like, nope,
No,
I'm not gonna.
they're going to leave again.
Yeah.
And we are. So we actually, we've been back for the week and back to work. But then for the weekend, we're in Sydney visiting some friends who are over here from the States. So we kind of got back to a little bit of a routine, and now we're out of routine again, but we are back in routine with our videos. So we're excited to have not a travel vlog, but a actual small talk where we talk about some small box games and answer some of your IAQs. But you would have seen in the last back chat video, we were just finishing up in LA.
Yeah.
And actually, we were so exhausted.
We were so out of it.
Tired after two cons and as many
Back to back,
concerts, as many activities as we could pack into the trip. By the time we got to the end of the trip, we were meant to drive from San Fran down the coast to LA because we've never done that drive.
Yeah,
Highway 1.
Meant to be beautiful,
Big
like
Sur.
Big Sur and all of that.
All of that. But we were just so exhausted that we ended up flying to LA, and then we were staying at a hotel that had a pool, and we basically just lay by the pool because it was beautiful weather.
Yeah.
We did get to check out one more game cafe that we'd never been to and played at, which was the Game House.
Game House.
In North LA, which was so much fun. And we met with a Joey, a channel member, Mona, who actually lives in Germany but happened to be in LA at the same time as us. So it was really fun, and we've got a lot of games played that night.
And
So-
even one gifted, which will be featured. Soon.
And so Mona gave us this game, Ofrendados. And if you remember, when this was on Kickstarter, Maggie and I desperately wanted this game. But I don't think they were actually posting to Australia, or maybe they were, but it was incredibly expensive to get it to Australia because they're a small publisher out of Mexico.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't get it. So unbeknownst to us, she actually backed it on our behalf.
Yes.
And at the level where you get a personalized card that says Maggie and Amy on it, super sweet. So we're really grateful for that. You would have maybe also seen that when we arrived home, we had a lot of packages waiting for us. So I posted a photo on the socials.
Yeah, it took quite a lot of back and forth trips from the car to get them in.
Suffice to say, the post office knows us really well.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're back.
You're
Good.
back.
There's a lot of things for you.
Here's all of your
Yeah,
things.
2 trolleys worth. Yeah.
And I also, aside from those things, I had a couple waiting for me at the office because sometimes I get games sent to the office. So overall, there were a lot of games waiting for us. There were also some mail from viewers, which is lovely.
Yes.
Some of the mail also came from when we were in the States. Some people got in contact with us and wanted to send us something, so it went to Mapleville. So thank you to Tim for receiving our mail as well. And one of those things is actually the t-shirts that we're wearing. So, if you don't know already, Jazz has a wonderful channel, The Lobby of Hobbies. He's doing great things over there.
I love you, Jazz.
Love you, Jazz. Thank you so much for the t-shirts.
Yes,
they
beautiful.
Fit perfectly.
They're great.
They're really
Love
high
it.
quality. Love what you're doing at the channel. Please go and check out his channel and subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, we're very happy to be able to wear these shirts, and they're super comfortable.
Yeah, beautiful quality.
Yeah, so thank you for the shirts.
Yeah.
And we received some other things in the post, so we'll just kind of do that before.
Make our
Let's
way.
talk about some of those things. Some of them are postcards, some of them are a bit more substantial. The first one I have here is from Jamie and Jennifer, who actually were one of the ones who sent it through to Mapleville. And it was a package of a lovely letter, but also a lot of postcards. So as you know, we collect postcards from around the world, from all viewers from around the world. And this is from Kansas City, Missouri, where they're based. And we've never been to Kansas City.
We have not. Yeah.
Would love to get
I've
there.
only been to Kansas and Great Western Trail.
Kansas, Great Western Trail. Also,
Going to Kansas. Yeah.
Going to Kansas. And I always get confused with the difference between Kansas State and city.
Oh yeah, I probably got that wrong again.
Probably.
But
probably. Please forgive us.
We're learning.
We're Australians.
I'm learning.
We're Australians. I just
ignorant Australians.
This. But they were talking about all of the local cons that are in that area, and of course we definitely want to get back. One is Geekway to the West, which we know Jamie Stagmeyer always is heavily involved in. He has said before that he would love to see us there. We would love to get there.
Yeah.
But we, more broadly, want to get to more cons because we had so much fun.
They were great. Yeah, it was so
much fun this trip. But Jamie and Jennifer have also sent us a calendar that they had made, which is so awesome. It has like a different game every month.
Yeah, beautiful photography, like close-up board game photography.
Yeah, the month of April, which we are in now. Yeah. Can you believe we're in now?
Can you believe?
Is the Viscounts of the West Kingdom, and maybe we should make it a goal to play the game that's on here.
Yeah, that's a
Beyond
noble
the Sun in May
goal.
Merchant Scope. I did reach out to Jennifer and ask if there was a thematic linkage between
the month
game
and
the month, and she was like, no, they're just games that we like.
That's
also fine. I wonder, and I said I wonder if Maggie can add some thematic stretch.
I will stretch. I will stretch and make some sort of link. I am sure of it.
Yes. Yeah. They also started a podcast during lockdown called Welcome to Games. Nice. They've sent us some stickers and everything here, so check that out. It was great that, because we were a channel that came out of lockdown.
Yeah.
So one good outcome of the pandemic is like a lot more board game content, a lot of people more actively involved in the community and different types of people.
Also brought a lot of people to board games. People being kind of more isolated and stuck at home and, you get through the puzzles era and they're like, what else can I do indoors? And board games.
Certainly the age of solo gaming as well.
Yes.
And for anyone who was a solo gamer pre-pandemic, now all games are kind of expected to have that solo mode. So that's been a great change in the industry too. So thank you so much, Jamie and Jennifer, for that.
Yes. Now I've got one from Candice. It's a beautiful postcard. We actually got this one just before we left. So it's been sitting here
waiting for us to
get back. Yes. So Candice, this is from Cape May in New Jersey. And Candice says, love your channel so much. Never miss an episode. Can't wait to meet you in person. And Cape May. There's also is there something else that you want to have a look at?
No, I just want to have a look at because Cape May is a board game as well.
Yeah,
about this
what
location.
A beautiful illustration. I actually really love this. The illustration on the postcard. So thank you so much for that, Candice.
Thank you so much.
And this is where Candice says, this is where we live now. That's beautiful.
It looks beautiful.
I want to live in a cartoon.
It looks just like the board game cover as well, which I also want to try.
Yes.
Oh no, because it has the lighthouse. Because Cape May also has the lighthouse.
Yeah. But it's the same colors.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. We also have a postcard here, which is the state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. And this is from our friends Dwayne and Alicia.
Hand-delivered
to us when we met them at Dice Tower West. Obviously, they have the channel Blackboard Gaming. Go and check them out if you haven't already. It was one of the highlights of the trip to meet them in person.
Yeah,
and if you watched our travel vlog, I ran across the con when I heard they were there.
Lovely.
And we had
great.
Such a big hug from them, and then Alicia's like, I've got something for you, and they gave us a postcard. So lovely. Can't wait to put that up on our wall. In fact, we've got so many on our wall now that we're going to have to start a second wall or something, or think of a new way to integrate the postcards into upcoming changes to Studio of ThinkerThemer 2022. So we'll see how that goes.
Ooh, all right. Now, my next one, this was a whole parcel, as we mentioned, as we call them here. I don't know if we call them parcels in the US. I can't remember, but parcels is here. Look at all this. Lots of different goodies. This is coming from Sarah from, I believe it's Ontario in Canada. And there's a full list. Apparently Sarah backed this is all the promos from the 2021 Dice Tower Kickstarter pledge, where obviously they kind of bring in a whole bunch of different promo cards for a range of different games. And apparently Sarah was after the Cafe, which is a game that I really enjoy, the Cafe promo card. But then after purchasing the expansion, it came with the promo card anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to send all of this other stuff to you. And so thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's all sorts of stuff. There's cards from Lost Ruins of Arnak, Watergate, which we quite enjoy, Robinson Crusoe, which I love, Isle of Cats, as well. The infamous cafe.
Which we don't have the expansion. So
no, we don't have the expansion. No, and a whole lot of others. And what's this one from the game? Actually, there's a full list.
Oh, Freedom 5.
Freedom 5,
yes,
which we don't really have and haven't played. But I love that so many of the promo cards here is all people that we know.
Yeah.
Actually, absolutely every single person in here we know. It's like Ella, who's also Melbourne-based.
And Stella,
also Melbourne-based. Tim Mativier, who we were just talking about, Tom, and Roy from the Dice Tower. So it's like, it's all people that we've met. Actually, we haven't met Ella in person. We've chatted. So this is amazing. It's like all our friends in board game format.
In board game format.
So thank you so much for that, Sarah.
And then I have a collection of games that were sent to us from Adele, who is a member of the Joey fam, and very graciously sent us 2 games here. So Claim, which is a trick-taking game for 2 players, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Claim and Claim
as
2.
well as Claim 2, the sequel to that game. And then a whole series of these Paco games, which I've always seen in retailers and just never picked up any of them. And we haven't, I think you've tried one of them.
Yes, I played the Dig one.
Dig.
Well, I started playing it because I was sort of learning it while Amy was at work.
But they're so
and
good.
it was actually really cute. So I'm excited to play it with you. Yeah.
They're such a cute size for travel. And so, they're easily, obviously, to pick up and take anywhere. And Claim was a great game because we received it over in the US and we were able to play it on our travels. So we're excited to talk about that. But thank you so much, Adele, for the generous gifts. And really look forward to getting into more of those tiny little games.
Yeah. And my final one is a biggie. So this was actually, I'll have to reach over. Darlene, one of the really, really lovely, amazing Joey fam, incredible supporter from the beginning of the channel and the work and stuff that we do with the channel. Had this entire set of Arkham Horror, the card game expansions. So all the different, not expansions, but I guess they're like all the different campaigns. Yeah. And she said, look, I got all of these earlier on when I was before even trying the game. Then tried the game, played it, and it wasn't quite her thing, and so she'd already committed to all of these, and she's like, well, maybe you'll enjoy them. So they're all in shrink.
I love that. This is such an indication of a gamer. Like,
it's like go all in
instead of just buying one and trying it. It's like going all in, doing all the research, getting everything.
Great, because luckily these are 2 of the expansions. Yeah, they do call them expansions. The Path to Carcosa and the Dunwich Legacy are 2 that I wanted to start with.
So she probably did the same research as you, and then ended up in the same place.
So I'm looking forward to this. I'm probably going to have to time, but I would love to do like a little solo series going through a lot of this stuff. That would be amazing. So again, thank you so much, Darlene. This is too generous.
Arkham Horror is one of those games that just has such a cult following, don't they?
Such a great,
because as soon as you started mentioning it on the channel, we got lots of messages about
and tips. And
would you like to play it?
Yeah, and we've had have the deluxeified components that were gifted to us as well. So spoiled.
So thank you to everyone for sending us things. We never expect to receive them, and it's always such a surprise, and we couldn't be more grateful.
Very
so
heartwarming.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do have a few IAQs, a few little ones that have trickled through while we've been doing our travel vlogging. One that made me laugh was from a very new channel member, Karen, who I think she was in isolation at home and went through the entire backlog of our videos. So it kind of just come across the channel.
Binged
all of the videos.
I never thought I would be the object of a binge. Binge watch. But
when she was watching them, we were traveling, and every now and then I'd get that comment pop up, and it was from Karen watching, the next episode of Small Talk or Back Chat, and so thank you so much for as well taking the time to comment. We've been pretty lax on our replies.
Awful at getting back. Like, we've been terrible at getting back because we haven't, obviously, while we've been traveling, it's been really tricky.
But we do read every single comment, and we really appreciate them. So thank you to everyone who just continuously shows their support by getting into the comment section. And, people talk to each other in the comment section. That's always lovely to see as well. So Karen asked, though, Why do you back so many games despite the postage costs?
Yeah, Amy, why? I would also like to know. Thank you, Karen. That is a question that I also have, Amy.
I laughed out loud at that question.
Why?
Well, I am trying to be better this year, and I have been.
Yes.
But, as more and more big campaigns come out, it's getting harder and harder. You will see that each week we're starting to back more and more. But last year, and obviously during lockdown, so the last 2 years, I think I've had quite a lot of engagement, shall we say, with Kickstarter. And I think the problem with doing Kickstarter coverage...
Keyword being problem. We have a problem, yes.
The problem with doing Kickstarter coverage is that, and actually we're talking to Alex from Board Game Co about this, is that you go so deep into the campaign and you read the rule books and you get a feel for it that so many times I convince myself of backing it. When I'm trying to explain the game and talk about the things that I like about it, it convinces you to back them.
You end up talking yourself into in the process. You're like, yeah, and it does this as well, and it also has this, and then it's got this little, And
then when we started the channel, there was a slightly different motivation as well, because we wanted to be able to cover those games before they hit retail, so that people who were buying the games at retail would have an understanding of whether we felt they delivered on the promise that they were talking about in the campaign. So then it was like, okay, if we back it instead of waiting until retail, we'll get it earlier, we can put out a review. But I think one thing with that is we just have so many games in the backlog now, and so many games that we could review that is kind of a moot point now, because when they arrive, they just get...
There is such thing as too many games at any given point.
They usually just get placed to the end of the queue, which means maybe they're hitting retail and people's homes before we get a chance to review them. So we always try to, do the hotness, because that's what people ask us a lot about. Like, what are your thoughts on Ark Nova, for example, those types of things. And we did, Wonderland's War recently, which has just been delivered. So I guess that is my logical, rational, post-rationalization of my behavior. But also emotionally, I've always loved Kickstarter. I really love the whole idea of crowdfunding. Yeah,
just interesting. I guess because there's that social element. Whereas I'm like, I love the concept of new games and like the discovery element. That's what I enjoy the most. But if it's a retail versus a Kickstarter, it doesn't really make any difference to me. But it's the exclusives,
and I was much more of a collector, before we started the channel, and so. I think the collection element of it.
Yes.
And I do think that is starting to get diluted a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that more retailers are backing Kickstarter versions, which means that the promos, you usually can pick them up if you really want to, or you can buy them in the secondhand market, because more and more people are backing Kickstarters.
Yes, there's more of them floating around.
That's right. Whereas if you, back in the day, you back a game and only 100 people have backed it, or even 500 people, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get that ever again.
It's an interesting conundrum. The exclusives are no longer as exclusive.
I feel like that has been quite diluted. Yes. But then also I've heard someone mentioned to me just the other day, after watching your Wonderlands review game, they got a chance to play it, and now they're really looking for those premium chips, and they can't find them anywhere. And so when you
will eventually. They are really worth it. Yeah. I'm usually like, look, I do love premium components. I love squishy components. I love. But sometimes I'm like, the game experience. Not this one. Definitely, it does add to the game experience.
It really
if you can get your hands on it. Yeah.
Then I have a question which I don't have an answer for, but Anya. Well, the first part I do. Anya asked, "Did we back Legacies?" Yes, and it was one of our most anticipated Kickstarter arrivals. I have literally been counting down the days to receiving that parcel. We have not received it yet, but she asked a follow-up question says, there's a card called Amelia in the Legacies game that looks a lot like Amy. Ooh. And have we noticed this? I don't know what this is about. Yeah. Maybe I have a doppelganger.
Maybe.
I believe in the pledge options, you could have your likeness put into the game. Okay. So maybe it's not me.
Okay.
It's actually
someone who looks a lot
someone
like
named
you.
Amelia who looks a lot like me. But if you have a copy of if you're watching this and you have received your copy of Legacies, please let me know in the comments. Do I have a twin? Or have they made a card that looks like me? I doubt that the latter is true. But but it could be highly possible that there's someone that just looks a lot like me. So
That's cool.
now I'm even more
regardless.
intrigued.
It's like it'll be fun to play with. Like, there's the Amy card. It's always gonna. Sorry, Amelia, if there's actually an Amelia out there.
Yeah,
but
Amelia,
this will be the Amelia/Amy card.
I'm definitely going to tell everybody that it was made after me. So
gonna claim that.
Yeah, gonna claim that.
I will give you credit. I'll say this is the Amelia/Amy card. So you're fine. You're gonna be fine.
But thank you for bringing that to our attention, Anya. We'll have to check that out. Now I'm even more excited to receive it.
Yes, thank you, Anya.
String 808 asked, knows that my mum is actually Chinese and asked, does your mum speak Chinese or Cantonese, sorry, and do I, or any other dialect? No, she was brought up in New Zealand, and so she doesn't speak Chinese, and because of that, I don't speak any Chinese. I wish I could, because I tried very hard to study all through university Japanese, and I can tell you that the earlier you start, the better with language.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I just naturally was never meant for it, but you learned. Oh, you probably learned English at quite a young age.
Yeah, I was because it was more through my teens, that I was learning it. Yeah. And then I got to practice a lot of it living in the US.
But I think they have proven that the older you get, the harder it is for your brain to make these new networks.
The plasticity of your brain and those, all those connections of your
But it would be very useful to speak other languages, or just English. Well.
On a good day, just be able to string a sentence together. What a delight.
Yes.
What a privilege.
So that's all the questions that we have. But if you do have a question for us, we don't have a lot at the moment. So please send some through. When you do write a question in the comments, please add IAQ, our acronym for infrequently asked questions, so that we can search for it, find it, and make sure we include it in an upcoming episode.
And if you had written one and we've missed it for whatever reason, please comment it again, because obviously sometimes these things happen. And
lost in travel, lost in the time warp. That is our travel.
Time warp there and time warp back. There's been a lot of time traveling for us.
There has been. Well, now let's get into some games. And everyone that's been watching our travelogue's like, finally, some games. Finally. The first one is Claim, that we were just talking about. And Claim is a two-player trick-taking game. And we have covered a couple of two-player trick-taking games.
Like Fox in the Forest.
Jekyll versus Hyde. And I didn't know there were so many of them.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I was always like, oh, it's so rare. But it's like, well, maybe it's not that rare.
Maybe it's not that rare. Or maybe there's just more and more coming out. But this is an older title called Claim, which is actually by Scott Almes. So many would be familiar with his the Tiny Epic kind of series. Recently, like the Almanac series, which I really loved. But anyway, this is a two-player trick-taking game, and the reason why it's called Claim is because you're trying to claim a card that is dealt from the top of the deck. And in the first phase of this game, the game has two halves. In the first, you're trying to essentially bid to claim the cards that is at the center of the table. And in the second half of the game, you are trying to win tricks using those cards that you've bid for to then accumulate points in order to win the game. And it's really interesting because not only is that the case, like basic trick taking kind of sometimes you want to win, sometimes you want to lose, but also each of the suits have a different asymmetric ability. And so that was the bit that really got my brain burning a little bit.
Wrap your head around that.
Took me a
what
little
does
bit.
This one do again?
Yeah, what does this suit do? And do I want this in the second round, or do I want to use it in the first round? Because sometimes they have abilities that activate only in the first or second round. But I think it's really interesting. It does have like that Biblios kind of feel.
Absolutely.
When you are first choosing cards, then using those cards in the second round. And it was really interesting and fun. I feel like I need to get to know. We've only played it a few times, and I really want to get to know some of those.
As soon as I played it, I was like, this reminds me so much of Biblios. Actually, because again, ultimately, with the points, is whoever ends up having the majority of cards of the each suit. So it's not so much the individual points in the cards, but just the number of cards. And the points only really come into play if you have the same number of cards as whoever has the highest. So usually it's the tie break is whoever has won three of those suits. I actually enjoyed, because I love trick taking, I think I enjoy this one a little bit better than Biblios. Again, Biblios is a great game. The bidding is what you love Biblios. The bidding is the auction sort of side is what I don't tend to usually enjoy. I do like though in Biblios you have a way of changing the value of winning each one of those colors, whereas in this one it's just like if you want it, you want it. But in Biblios it's like if you win it, it may be worth very little at the end. So I kind of feel like Biblios has a couple of other layers, but I actually do love the trick-taking element as the mechanic to end up reaching your final destination of, you know, who won the game.
I think what's interesting about this game, though, is the fact that at the end of the day, you need to have the majority in each of the suits. And so you need to do a bit of like almost card counting.
Yeah.
So you need to have, there's a bit of a, not memory element, but you need to be very aware of what you're collecting in the first round of the game to make sure you have enough ammunition to win in the different suits in the second half of the game. So you don't want to really just get all of the cards of one suit and ignore everything else.
Yeah.
So really interesting game. I really like that mechanic of claiming cards. So check that out if you haven't already. That's Claim. Claim 2 is the same game mechanically, but it introduces all new factions, which then have different abilities. We've explored Claim 1 much more. Maggie's been playing a bit of two-handed Claim 2.
Yes, I really struggle with the two-handed, but it was good to explore the different abilities of Claim 2. I think I still prefer the abilities of Claim 1. The thing with Claim 2, though, is that you can actually combine the decks. So I believe that with Claim 2, then you can actually extend it to be a 3 to 4 player game as well. And then, you can have a different combination of cards. You can play it as a standalone.
And the only reason why I haven't moved on to Claim 2 is I cannot beat Maggie at Claim 1. So I keep demanding that we replay Claim 1 so that I can
I'm sure it's just a matter of time.
So I can get my head around how the stage 1 and stage 2
Fox in the Forest
together.
I was so proud of Fox in the Forest, always having the
not so much
the victory, and then now that my luck has run dry. The last time we played at one of the, I think it was one of the gaming cafes. It was like very quickly and then no, it's all over. Amy's caught up.
I've cracked that one. Okay.
All right. Our next game is actually this is a new game being released straight to retail. This is Cryptid Urban Legends. This is a game by duo Ruth Viviers and Hal Duncan. And this is, even though it's Cryptid Urban Legends, my understanding is we haven't played Cryptid, the board game. It's thematically or kind of skin-wise similar, but mechanically very, very different. So it's almost like, and again, haven't played Cryptid, so can't really talk to that. But in Cryptid, this is a 2-player game, asymmetric game. One person is playing as the scientist and the other person is playing as the cryptid. It's been described as a hidden movement game where the movement isn't hidden. And essentially, I'll tell you a little bit about the theme, even though when you actually play it, it's going to be pretty abstract. It even looks like a chess board as you play it out. But whoever plays as a scientist, your role is to make sure that you can corner and capture the cryptid. And the way that you're going to be doing that is by essentially limiting the movement or the ways that the cryptid is going to be able to move during their movement phase. If you're the cryptid, you want to be able to get to the point where the city's sprawled out to 7 cards, and then you've got presence at the 2 edges of the city, meaning that you're spread out everywhere. There's no way for them to know where is it, like the sightings are everywhere. We don't actually know where the cryptid has gone. Thematically, that's probably as far as it's going to go. Mechanically, the way that this actually plays out is you've got this, as I said, like a chess-like grid of only 2 lines. And one side, the cryptid is going to be on one side, and usually the scientist sort of sits on the other. You're going to be moving these little sensors from the spaces between the city tiles from one row to the other. The way that you're going to be doing that is you've got cards that have movement patterns on them. So your card might say to split cubes, so all the little sensor cubes from one area, split them into the other 2 kind of grids, or you might have a shuffle where you take one cube, move them across and then down in the same direction. Another one is where you move them all of the one color in the same direction. So it's just a combination of different moves that you can have. What will end up happening is once all of those sensors have been moved, the cryptid will get to decide where are they going to be moving to, or where, and the movement is either going to be based on the combination of colors of those sensors, because the sensors come in black, white, and red, or the number of sensors surrounding the city blocks. So as an example, once those sensors have been moved, the cryptid might go, I like the combination of red and white colors. So any of the city tiles that have only those colors surrounding it, and that the cryptid can kind of move adjacent, is it like an adjacent? So diagonally from where it's placed, then they'll be able to kind of expand their presence. Or if the color combinations aren't quite working, you can do numbers. So you might say, look, I'll do any city tiles where there's 4 cubes surrounding it, and whatever combo, but just 4 in total. And so again, if you can, as the cryptid, move that diagonal through to those areas, then you've got that presence. If you end up at the point where we check, if you've got 7 tiles and presence at the edges, then you win. If you haven't been able to spread, it means that the scientist has kind of cornered you and you're out. It's an interesting one because I find I cannot, this is so abstract when we play it, I cannot for the life of me figure out how to do this well.
Yes.
I always lose to Amy immediately.
I think this game is actually going to be quite polarizing. That is my feeling about this game. I feel like if you are into this style of game, that you'll really enjoy it. But if you are like Maggie, you need more theme, or just it's just not your style of game, this one's going to be really hard to get into because it is really, really abstract, first of all. But second of all, you have to sit with this game. In the first few games of this, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I felt like I couldn't quite get my head around what I was doing. And so, but the more we played this, the more I realized the strategy of, if you are one type of, if you're the scientist versus the cryptid, what you really need to be doing and careful about, because the more you play it, the more you realize, okay, I lost because of this mistake, or I grouped one color too close together, or whatever the case, or not far enough apart, or whatever the case may be, and you start to really work out some strategies. And because of that, this game is going to shine if you've got 2 players who love this style of game and are willing to put in the time and get better and better at it, because then you're going to have a really tense battle on your hands, because there's a lot of push and pull in this game. And if you're playing one experienced person versus one inexperienced person, the experienced person is going to win every time. Every time, because it requires a lot of thinking about the strategy. So it's quite a heady, interesting puzzle, but it takes a while to get into it. It's not one that you immediately play and just straight away the light bulb goes on. Repeated plays is where this is at. So it wasn't for Maggie, and it was for me in the longer term. But the problem is having someone to play it who's as committed to playing it continuously with me. It
very much felt like that abstract puzzle mental space that you would be in if you're playing something like checkers or chess. Interestingly though, because the movements are determined by the cards that you have, so you kind of have a deck of cards and you draw a few of them, and then you can either play a movement card or draw some more. It means that even though it's not perfect information, because there's a little bit of luck in what moves you end up getting. You do have a wild card, but then once you've kind of spent it, that can sit out there for a while, because there's this other little kind of winning condition to, if no one wins, there's like these little tokens, like pink tokens that are kind of like the tie break at the end. So with that, it meant that it kind of felt abstract, like a chess, but at the same time you also can't really predict, they're definitely going to do this move next, because you don't know what they have in their hand. It's
about more setting yourself up for the best likelihood of success. I think this is not a game that you buy to get to the table with someone who's at your house and you're like, I'll teach you a game, because of the fact that it's just going to not shine until you've got experience in it. So, but if this sounds like your type of game and you've got a perfect partner to master this.
I feel like I've got a perfect partner. But you don't have a perfect partner to play this game.
Sorry, babe. I didn't mean you weren't a perfect partner at all.
For this game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, if I did meet someone that really loved abstracts, no, I'm just joking.
Putting a call out there.
So that is Cryptid Urban Legends.
All right.
The next game is that game that we spoke about, Ofrendados.
El Camino a Mictlán.
Yeah, so this takes place over the Day of the Dead, which I always have now forgotten how to say in
Dia de
Spanish.
Muertos.
Thank you.
Yes.
And this is coming from a Mexican publisher, which is amazing. They're called here, Maggie. You'll do it better than I will.
Let me just have a quick look. So it's Puerco Monte. Puerco Monte, which would actually be like, puerco is like a pork, like a...
Yeah, well, it's a little pig.
Yeah, it's a little pig. And monte is usually a mountain. So it's like a mountain.
Mountain pig or pig mountain?
Pig mountain, yeah.
Anyway, this is a roll and write game that does take place over the Day of the Dead, which is it's a time where you celebrate those in your family who have passed on. And we actually have been fortunate to be in Mexico
Yes.
during this
Yeah.
festival and time of actual celebration. And it's just a beautiful...
It is it's so colorful.
It is,
and so
yeah.
much. It is indeed a celebration. It's not like
It's not
mourning.
a sad day. No,
it's a reunion with those that have passed. Yeah,
and
passed
part
on.
of the festival is to create this offering to those who have passed on in order for them to find their way back to the living for this celebration. In this game, you are building an altar. It's a roll and write game, and in front of you, you're going to have an altar that is kind of like in this, pyramid altar shape, and you're going to be drafting dice from a central pool. And so what happens at the start of everyone's turn is just like a lot of roll and write. So you roll all of the dice together, and then they are allocated to one of three parts of the board, representing three different coloured dice. And you're going to be drafting from two of the three colours. So the purple dice everybody's going to get to use, and those purple dice are going to allow you to draw different types of offerings onto your altar, which is really cute. It might be food offerings, it could be candles, the paper,
papel picado, so the little paper that is used to like adorn everything.
And so you're going to be drawing those onto your altar, and at the end of the game, each of those different types of offerings have different scoring conditions. So some of them want to be surrounded by other offerings. Some of them it's just whoever has the majority of them, or the more you have, the more points you get. So all of the common kind of scoring conditions that you're used to in a roll and write game.
But actually they make thematic sense as well.
They do make thematic sense.
There's been a lot of thought into the thematic linking of most of these elements.
And then there's two other coloured dice that you can actually draft from. So between you and the players around the table, you're going to be drafting one at a time. There's a different number of dice depending on the number of players in the game, and some of them are going to give you money, which that you can then spend on cards that are going to give you one-off abilities each round, or a new end game scoring condition, which can be really powerful. So you can either draft dice to get money, or you can draft dice to get flowers or progress on a flower track. So on the center board, there is a flower track that is going to provide the path of
like connecting the two worlds, so the world of the living and the world of the dead, which is the Camino. The road to Mictlán. Mictlán is the place where the dead live usually, and that's where they're traveling back from.
Yeah, and mechanically, thank you for stepping in for the thematic. But mechanically, it's really interesting because it's a path that you really need to get at least halfway through into the world of the living.
Well, you need to get out, so connect the two. Yeah.
Yes. You need to be able to do that by the end of the game. Otherwise, nothing in your altar is going to score.
Well, because no one's going to be able to, if you don't have the path, your loved ones can't come to visit. So what's the point of your offering? It's going to waste.
But the way that it works is really interesting because you will be taking the next flower of a certain type on this path. So for example, if a die gave me an A flower, then I'll be taking the next available A flower that's at the end of this path that everybody is starting to create, which means that you need to really time when you choose what type of flower to try and get as much progress as you can through that track. But also at the end of the game, each of the types of flowers that you have collected along the way are going to have a majority scoring impact as well. So there's a lot of things to think about. It's like, well, do I want to progress more on the track because I need to, but then I'm giving up the opportunity to get more money, which is going to get me good cards, or other ways to get different offerings for my altar. So there's lots to think about. It's highly thematic.
Very thematic. Yeah, all the elements. There's so much love and there's so much thought put into and care put into all of the integration of all the different components. And even in the rule book, there's a lot of information about the Day of the Dead, the holiday and the celebration. So I thought that was really great.
Yeah, and all the pieces and everything, the components are really beautiful. I really appreciate the way that the scoring has been done. It steps you through bit by bit all of the points you need to look at, and there's
a lot of things that end up accumulating.
Yeah, you have subtotals along the way. So I really like the way they've done that on the player sheet. I wish the middle board and some of the components were a little bit bigger. I think if you have big hands, you're going to really struggle with like the flower tokens and like the little things, and the dice are quite small. But other than that, and I very small publisher. I think this is a fantastic game.
Yeah, it's a beautiful game.
So excited to have it in our collection. So thank you again, Mana, for sending it.
The only other thing with that was two of the dice colors, so the orange and the yellow are quite similar looking in terms of the shade of the color. And multiple times, at least in the first few games, we kept misunderstanding which color we had picked, and then going, oh, this is actually just money, or I wanted flowers, so that was one thing that I can see. It's like, oh, it's a shame that's sort of causing a little bit of a clunkiness, particularly the earlier games that you play. But I can see why they did it, because those are the colors of the holiday. That's usually what you see everywhere in Mexico when you're walking around. Those are the colors. So thematically it's good, but like practically,
ultimately we might even swap out 3 dice for 3 different colored dice just to make it a lot clearer when we're playing.
That beautiful game.
Beautiful game that is Ofrendados.
Thank you. All right, next one.
Next game is one we bought in America because Summer Camp by Phil Walker Harding, who is an Australian, is only available as an exclusive at
Target.
Target. This was Target, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Target.
Yeah.
And of course, we do have Target in Australia, but it's completely
Very
separate
different.
business, and they don't have a good board game selection. And so as soon as we went to America, we went to Barnes & Noble and went to Target, and we're looking for exclusives so that we could bring them home with us. Yeah. And this is one of them.
Yeah. Summer Camp. So Summer Camp, the theme is about summer camp. I never actually did the summer camp thing. I don't know if you did growing up.
We had camp, but the idea, I think, of summer camp is a very American.
Which I love. Like, I love that concept of, when school breaks, you all kind of go to camp. I love it as a concept. I don't think I would have appreciated it in real life as an introvert. I think that would have been my worst nightmare of going, no, I just want to stay home during the holidays. But as a concept now, as an adult, I can appreciate, particularly if you have extroverted kids, being able to make new friends, learn new skills, be out in the forest, do all sorts of fun activities. So that's the setting that this is looking to recreate. It's actually a deck building game. So you've got 3 different tracks and 3 different activity types. So some of them are going to be, and you have a whole range of things to pick from. So it might be crafts, might be adventure, might be cooking, might be friendships, water sports. And so any given game, you're going to pick 3 of those different things. And for each one of those tracks, you're going to have your little kind of explorer token or meeple. And just like a deck builder, you're going to draw 5 cards. Out of your 5 cards, you're going to have a combination of either movement points that will allow you to move those explorers along those different tracks. And as you're moving through, as you're landing on different places, you're getting bonuses. Obviously, if you're the first one to reach the end, you're going to get the token with the most points. So again, you're going to be getting points from a range of a couple of places. And also, there's a couple of milestones along the way. So if you manage to get all 3 of your explorers past the first milestone, you get, again, the top badge with most points for like that first milestone. I think that's participation, and then the second one is like the all-star, all-rounder camper. And so and just like in any given deck builder, when you have your cards, you can either use them for the action or the ability on the card. So that might be movement, that might be extra energy points, that might be getting energy bars, which act as energy, or you can then spend them as energy, which is the currency in the game, to buy other cards that usually, obviously the ones that you're buying will usually have upgraded or more powerful abilities. So you're going to be building up your deck to eventually be obviously more and more powerful in terms of what you're able to do.
Yeah, but the cool thing, I think, is the fact that you are selecting those 3 different decks that are thematic decks at the start of every game. And they relate to each of the tracks as well, because, you know, you might want to go ahead on the arts and craft track, which means you probably should be buying some more arts and crafts cards because they're going to help you move along that quicker. And so because there's the race element of the 3 tracks, and then you're thinking about what to add to your deck, it makes for a really interesting thought process, I think, where you start to look and you're like, oh, I'm lagging behind in that track and I haven't got enough of those cards, so then my strategy needs to shift a little. It depends on what your opponents are doing, so you need to be very aware of where they are at on the tracks. So I really enjoyed this game. I thought that the thematic decks are kind of like the way that Unfair works, where you add in a thematic overlay to the game. It does that really well, and you know, there's so many different packs to explore in the base game. I really love that.
I love the aesthetic of them.
It is beautiful.
It's like they are like all the illustrations and just the table presence of it is really beautiful. Really pops.
In terms of like who should own this game, it is very much an entry level deck.
Very
builder.
light,
very light, very easy.
Gateway,
but I had fun with it. I had fun with it. I don't think it would be a game that, you know, I would pull out instead of like Dominion, for example, because that's more of a gamer's. But that's more of a gamer's game, right? Yes. But this, you know, the age range here is 10 plus. I think it could probably stretch a little lower than that. So getting kids into the idea of deck building or a gateway deck builder, certainly. I actually have thought about this game a number of times since it's been in our collection when we have had people over, and I was like, maybe that will be the game.
From an occasion point, it'd be a perfect game to play at summer camp. So it's like
it would be.
It's like it'd be all of my.
Or if you have fond memories of summer camp, it's certainly going to.
All of my knowledge about what happens in summer camp is based entirely on the movie Wet Hot American Summer, which I loved when it came out, because I was living in America at the time, and I was like, what is this? And I'd never obviously been to summer camp, but it was like that was my introduction to the world. But so that is Summer Camp.
Great little thematic deck builder.
Yeah.
And the final game that we're going to talk about today.
It's a bit of a grail one for you for a while.
It was. So this is a game called Bullet, and it's by Level 99 Games. It is a game that has been incredibly difficult to get in Australia. And when it came out, it was a bit of one of those, like, I don't know how you say it, but like kind of niche games. It wasn't like huge in distribution, but everyone that had it was like, oh, this is amazing and really different. And of course that made me want it more and more and more.
It's a lot of fan love for it.
Yes, for Bullet. And you know, the art style is very anime-esque. Not typically something that we're drawn to, although I do love everything Japanese, of course. But I wouldn't have thought that it would be a game for us just by looking at it. But then the game itself is a really, really interesting puzzle game. Eventually I did find this game, obviously. I found it at the Glass Die in Reno, which is a wonderful bar in Reno, gaming bar. And they just had one copy of it sitting in a stack of games, and Maggie was like, hey, like, they've got Bullet. Straight away I went and bought it. And then had to fit it in our luggage.
I don't even know if it was in. It was actually in the stack of. It wasn't even displayed. Just like the stack of stock.
So hopefully that means that it's probably coming back into, like, it's been reprinted, or there's more distribution. So but anyway, Bullet is interesting because it's a real-time game, because each round consists of 3 minutes, and in those 3 minutes you each have a bag full of bullets, and these bullets are represented by different colors. There's 5 different colors, and also different values as well. So you might have a 2 pink bullet and a 4 green bullet, and that is randomly selected at the beginning of the round from a central pool bag, which you're going to be kind of all adding bullets to your individual bags. Once the timer starts, you need to be pulling out those bullets and adding them to columns that you have in front of you on your player board. And the idea is to not let those bullets reach the bottom of your player board, because as soon as they do, it means that they've made impact and you're going to lose a life. And in this game, as soon as you're out of lives, you're out of the game, you're eliminated from the game. So you want to try and hold off these bullets for as long as possible. But the really interesting part about this game is as you are using different abilities that you have, so you're going to be spending, I've just forgotten the...
Patterns?
No, the
it's
power.
like energy, AP, so it's like action points.
Yes, sorry. So you've got...
Which is different. AP, it's not analysis paralysis.
It's not analysis paralysis. There's no time for that in the 3-minute countdown.
There really isn't.
But you've got all of these points that you can allocate to special abilities that you have. And those abilities are going to allow you to draw more pattern cards, which we'll come back to in a second, or get other things done, sometimes even restore your lives. But the pattern cards are what makes it really interesting, because as you pull bullets out of your bag, they slot into one of the columns according to their number. But then you're able to spend AP to move the bullets around, and once they fulfill a pattern that's on one of your pattern cards, usually you're able to eliminate them from your board.
Or cards, or like each pattern will eliminate things around the particular pattern.
Yeah, depending on what pattern card it is. But for example, if I do a row of 5, it might allow me to eliminate the 3 on the right. And what I do when I eliminate the 3 on the right is I take those bullets and I put them in Maggie's supply off to the side. And
incoming for the other person.
Incoming bullets. And what happens is, at the end of that 3-minute round, we're going to do a cleanup phase. And part of the setup for the next round is that those incoming bullets are going to be added to Maggie's bag on top of the ones that get added every round. Which means... if one player is doing a really good job of clearing bullets, not only are they at less risk of losing a life, but they're putting a lot of pressure on their opponent.
Getting really overloaded with bullets that then you're going to have to like allocate and figure out a way to do.
So it's described on the box as a shoot 'em up puzzle action game, and it's just a really interesting game because it kind of emulates those those apps that you have with where you're trying to move around and make patterns of things when you're sliding, different. I don't play many. I
would say like
it
keeps getting compared to that. It's like, because. And whenever I think of those, I think of like the Connect 3, Connect this, but it's like these are very specific and very different patterns. The other thing is like all the different heroines that you play, they're all unique. So they all have unique abilities. They all have their unique deck of patterns. They're unique. Even the things that their action points can be spent on are going to be asymmetric and slightly different. So I think with all of that, I kind of get almost a little bit Space Invaders, because they call that area your sight. It's like you're seeing all the bullets that are coming your way. They haven't hit you yet, so you still can do something about, shooting or destroying things around them if you meet the right pattern. But weirdly, I don't know why. I guess if you're destroying them, I don't know why they end up going to the other person. It's rare that you'd be able to be like, nope, you're deflecting them all to the other. So I think it's an interesting one with the real-time element of it. It's still very abstract, so I think for me, it's like, I don't know if it's...
Bless you. I came out of nowhere.
I don't know if it would be the type of game that I'd be like, again and again. It is fun for that element. There's solo mode. There's a boss battling mode as well, where then you actually can combat very cleverly. The boss is the other side of every one of the heroes or the heroines. In here have a boss version, and there's boss decks as well. So there's a lot of asymmetry.
There's a lot
and
of
unique
game. We're still exploring just the different asymmetric character abilities, because they have one powerful ability that kind of dictates how you play the game. And as Maggie said, the different patterns and things, it really changes the way that you're able to clear your board. I'm enjoying it so far. We're only a few games in. But I'm looking forward to playing it more and trying it out with other people.
You can also play it in teams, so you can actually play 2 versus 2, and then that would shift the dynamic, because now you're actually kind of working together to shoot the bullets off to the other. So there's a lot of variety.
If it didn't have that element of giving the other person the bullets, this wouldn't be a game for me, because it'd be very multiplayer solitaire.
Yes, it is.
Because you were just trying to clear your puzzle during those 3 minutes. But the fact that I can see Maggie adding bullets to my pile, and I'm trying to get them over to hers. That's really fun.
And obviously it's like last person standing, essentially. So,
so really interesting, different type of game that is Bullet. And with that's 5 games and, 6 with Claim 2 if you count it.
Yeah, sneaking in there. Yeah.
But we're very happy to be back to our regular format for Small Talk, and hope you all enjoyed our travel vlog. But now we're back on schedule and we're getting back to our board game reviews. But thank you all very much for watching, and look forward to chatting to you in the comments really soon. But otherwise, have a wonderful week ahead. Happy Monday, and bye for now.
Bye.